Mary and John had only been married for 2 weeks when they received the news of Mary's pregnancy. They were both overjoyed and eagerly embraced the imminent expansion of their family. Throughout Mary's pregnancy, John provided unwavering support. He accompanied her to doctor's appointments and stood by her side during ultrasounds, displaying his commitment to her and their unborn child. During a routine checkup, the doctor reassured them that the baby was healthy and strong. John smiled and tenderly brushed Mary's hair as they observed the monitor filled with anticipation. Mary was grateful that her husband shared her excitement for their baby. Together, they prepared the nursery, carefully selecting furniture and clothing for their little one. At 28 weeks, Mary celebrated her impending arrival with a baby shower among close friends. Amidst delightful conversations and gift exchanges, she suddenly felt intense contractions. "Ouch!" she cried out, gripping her stomach tightly. Waves of sharp pain coursed through her belly. Concerned, her friends rushed to her side. "What happened? Are you okay?" they asked. Struggling to speak through the pain, Mary replied, "I'm experiencing intense contractions. I think we need to rush to the hospital. Can you help me get there?" "Of course. I'll also call John and let him know," said her friend Helen, assisting Mary as she rose from her chair. Upon reaching the hospital, the doctor confirmed that Mary was in labor. Shortly after John's arrival, she began the birthing process. To everyone's surprise, the first baby that emerged was a girl. "It's a girl," exclaimed the doctor. Confused, John asked, still holding on to Mary, "How is that possible?" "The ultrasound showed a boy. Do you remember our conversation and wish that night at the cafe? We both wanted a daughter, didn't we?" But before they could fully process the news, the doctor interjected, "Wait, I see another head. We're not finished yet. It's a boy. Look, there he is." The doctor revealed that Mary and John had welcomed 2 healthy babies. Before Mary could react, another scream escaped her lips. Another baby was arriving swiftly. John stood in stunned disbelief. He had anticipated welcoming only one baby boy into their lives, but now he had 3 children who would need his care and love. Mary was wheeled into the recovery room while the 3 children were admitted to the neonatal intensive care unit. Born prematurely at 28 weeks, the triplets required a few days' stay before they could be taken home. Meanwhile, John was left to contemplate his thoughts. He approached Mary's doctor, seeking answers about the situation. "How is this possible? How did we not know beforehand that she was carrying triplets?" he inquired. "Well, sometimes the ultrasound fails to detect everything at once, especially if the fetuses are too small. They can also conceal each other, making it challenging to identify. You and Mary are fortunate. This occurs in only 1 in a million pregnancies," she explained. Rather than feeling elated, John felt disheartened. The prospect of raising 3 children simultaneously didn't fill him with excitement. As Mary and the children remained in the hospital, John stayed at home. Before leaving, he told Mary, "Let me know when you're all set to come home." It took another 5 days before Mary and her kids were ready. She named James, Anna, and Charles were discharged. Allison anticipated John's joy upon their return home. However, their journey back was marked by an uncomfortable silence. "Is everything all right?" Mary asked her husband. He shrugged and grumbled. Upon reaching home, John inquired if the children needed anything. Mary smiled, thinking he was finally adapting to the demands of caring for triplets. The kids ran out of diapers at the hospital. "Could you go and buy some from the store?" she requested. John nodded. "Sure, I'll be back soon," he replied before leaving the house. In the meantime, Mary enthusiastically tended to the 3 kids. Being in a separate ward at the hospital, this was her first opportunity to care for them independently. "Hello there, my little darlings," she cooed as she carefully placed each of them in the crib. "Daddy went to get more diapers for you. Just be patient, all right? It's not time for any messy surprises yet," she whispered, addressing her infants. Once the kids were peacefully asleep, Mary decided to start preparing dinner. Uncertain about how long they would nap, she opted for a quick mac and cheese recipe, anticipating John's return. However, time passed and John was still absent. The triplets began crying simultaneously, overwhelming Allison, who couldn't tend to all of them at once. Desperate to reach John, Mary dialed his phone number, but it went straight to voicemail. "Hey, where are you? Is everything okay? I'm getting worried. Please call me back," she pleaded, leaving a voicemail. Another hour went by, and Mary dialed his number again, only to find his phone turned off. Growing increasingly anxious, she dialed 911 in search of answers. "I just need to verify if this number is active. My husband hasn't returned home, and I'm concerned he may have been in an accident," she explained, her voice filled with panic. The dispatcher obtained John's number and managed to track it. "I'm sorry, ma'am, but the line is active. There hasn't been an accident, and your husband is currently driving on the interstate freeway." Overwhelmed, Allison burst into tears. "Why?" she sobbed, as her children echoed her cries in the background. "What did I do to deserve this?" Left alone with her 3 newborn triplets, Allison felt an immense burden without any assistance. She was overwhelmed, restless, and fearful, nearly letting go of hope regarding John's whereabouts. Allison decided to visit Frank, John's closest friend, hoping he might have some information the following morning. Mary knocked on Frank's door, aware of the inseparable bond between him and John. In the blink of an eye, everything had changed. Allison couldn't help but seek answers from Frank, knowing he held key insights. "Hey, Allison, come on in. It's great to see you," Frank exclaimed upon opening the door and seeing her standing there. "Would you like some coffee?" Mary nodded without hesitation, her heart racing, longing for the answers she had come seeking. "Well, I understand that John's behavior might appear strange to you," Frank said, placing the coffee on the table. "But it's not a surprise to me. Did you see him after he left us? I mean, did you have any further encounters?" "Yes, I did, and we even had an argument about it," Frank replied, noticing Mary's growing anxiety and pale complexion. "I tried to reason with him and make him understand that what he was doing was wrong. I urged him to stay and take care of you and the babies, but he refused." "Your coffee is getting cold." Mary felt a deep sense of hurt. Frank's revelation only intensified her pain. Was that all? Did he never say anything else? Frank could sense Mary's disappointment and decided it was time to reveal a little more about his best friend, who had now disappeared without a trace, leaving her alone with the babies. "I think you need to know a bit more about your relationship," Frank added. Mary was perplexed. She had believed that Frank knew every aspect of her relationship with John. "What more? I don't understand. Do you remember your first encounter with him?" Frank continued. Tears welled up in Mary's eyes. "Of course. How could I ever forget that day? It was a Friday. I was working my shift at the cafe and saw the 2 of you sitting with a group of guys. Perhaps stay with your friends. It was someone's birthday." I still recall John's boisterous laughter as he raised the toast when the guy cut his cake. "Yeah, that's right, we were celebrating Sam's birthday. But there's something else you still don't know." Mary couldn't help but let her tears flow as she reminisced about her initial meeting with John and the way he locked eyes with her from across the room. "John and his birthday boy Sam, they were both interested in you, Mary," Frank interjected, bringing her back to reality. "They were drunk and began arguing about who would win you over first. But that wasn't all. They went on to make a rather serious deal." "A deal? What kind of deal?" Mary was startled. Frank hesitated, unsure if he had made the right decision to disclose everything that had transpired that day. Nevertheless, he found himself with no other option but to reveal the truth. "Mary, I know this will be painful for you to hear, but John made a bet of $100 to sleep with you that night," Frank disclosed, his voice heavy with the weight of the revelation. "Sam laughed it off, saying it would be easy to win the wager and seduce you. In addition, he offered $1,000 to John if he could court you and take you out for a month." Allison was utterly stunned. "He placed a bet on sleeping with me?" Oh my God, how could he? Before Mary could fully process the situation, Frank interjected once more, divulging the true nature of John's character. The thing is, John had never been in a serious relationship before. We all assumed it was some kind of tasteless joke, but then he took the challenge seriously. So, you're saying he courted and married me just for $1,000? Mary's voice quivered as tears welled up in her eyes. No, not at all. He genuinely liked you. I mean, genuinely, Frank clarified. Things escalated after you two started dating. You got married, and everything seemed fine until he began feeling suffocated in the relationship. John was afraid of commitment. He didn't want to settle down so quickly. When things got serious, he started pulling away, and he had those mistresses. Wait, John had mistresses? Mary's alarm was palpable. That's just how John is. Deception comes easily to him. It's unfortunate that he kept you in the dark. At some point, he wanted to divorce you, but he was too afraid to follow through. If he really wanted to divorce me, why did he stay? Why didn't he leave me earlier? Allison's voice trembled through her tears. I'm not entirely sure why, but one thing I know for certain is that your pregnancy shocked him. He wasn't ready for it, but he tried to hold everything together so that you wouldn't be hurt. He tried, but when you gave birth to triplets, he panicked. It was the final straw. He felt overwhelmed and had no choice but to flee. It became too much for him to handle, leaving you and the children was the only option he saw. Oh my God, Frank, Mary sobbed. You've been visiting us regularly, you could have told me earlier. John left me alone with the babies. What do I do now? I'm so confused, and how will I survive without him? Allison was terrified at the prospect of single-handedly raising her children amidst various challenges. Her head throbbed with pain from hours of crying, but her tears would not stop. She paced back and forth in Frank's living room while trying to call John, but his phone was still switched off. Take it easy, Allison. You need to calm down. Have some water. Give me 5 minutes, and I'll drive you home, Frank said. Frank drove Mary to her house, where she expressed her gratitude to the neighbor who had babysat her triplets while she was away. With a forced smile, Allison quickly dismissed the woman before inviting Frank in. They are beautiful, Allison said, while gently stroking the heads of each of her babies. John shouldn't have left. He should have stayed, at least for his children if not for you, Frank commented. After Frank left, Allison tried to soothe her emotions and breastfeed her babies before laying them down in their cribs. Exhausted and upset, she was too restless to even cry. Time ticked away, and eventually, she fell asleep near her infants. The next morning, a loud doorbell ringing startled Mary, and she jumped out of bed, heart racing. John, she called out as she rushed to the door, only to be disappointed when she saw who it was. Frank, she said, her hopes dashed. Come in. I called you, but you didn't pick up, she said as he entered, carrying a large bag of diapers and baby supplies. Hold on, I have more in my car. I'll get it. Mary was surprised by Frank's unexpected visit. She was even more shocked by the level of attention and care he gave to her babies. Would you like some coffee? She asked him. No, thank you. I have to go. Maybe some other time, Frank replied. With Frank's help, Allison was somewhat relieved. She had been struggling with the thought of raising 3 children on her own and had run out of diapers and other baby essentials. The initial days were incredibly challenging for Mary, but her life took a turn. When Frank began frequenting her home and offering his assistance, gradually, Mary realized that she couldn't handle the responsibility of raising her babies alone without Frank's support. He consistently went above and beyond to help her move forward and focus on her future. Frank even volunteered to babysit her triplets while she attended job interviews. Before long, Mary secured a job as an attorney at a private law firm. Her days revolved around juggling work and taking care of her children, and having Frank by her side provided the crucial support she needed. Despite Mary's initial resistance, she couldn't prevent him from showering the kids with the attention and care they deserved. Over time, James, Anna, and Charles grew fond of Frank's presence. They no longer pestered Mary to take them to amusement parks on weekends or argued about not receiving extravagant Christmas gifts. Frank embraced the role of a father figure, doing everything he could for them. His love for the children gradually melted Allison's heart, and she found herself developing feelings for him. Allison and Frank eventually started dating, but they took things slowly. Their priority was ensuring that the kids were comfortable with Frank assuming the role of their father. Once they received the children's approval, Mary and Frank had a modest wedding ceremony and tied the knot. 12 years passed, and numerous changes took place. Although the scars left by John on Mary's heart still lingered, both Allison and Frank achieved success in their careers and raised 3 remarkable children together. Everything seemed to be heading in the right direction until one day when Mary's secretary called her to sign for a package from a client. "The courier's on her way," the secretary informed. As they eagerly awaited Mary's signature, Allison stormed out of her office. She was shocked. "John," she exclaimed upon seeing her ex-husband. She invited him to her office, wanting answers from John about everything he had done to her 12 years ago. John nervously followed Allison to her spacious office adorned in blue on the 3rd floor. He hadn't expected to encounter his ex-wife, whom he had left behind with their newborn triplets, in such a successful position. "I rehearsed this conversation a million times in front of the mirror," Mary spoke as she settled into her rolling chair. John was shocked to witness her in this position. She had changed immensely, time had truly transformed her. "At first, I missed you. I even held on to the hope that you'd change your mind and come back. But as I unraveled some truths, I began to hate you more than I ever loved you. I wanted you to witness my success. Don't you find it peculiar that we meet here like this today? I have nothing to say now, but I do have one question. How could you do this to me, John?" "It's not entirely my fault, Mary. I know what I did. I know it was wrong, but I felt trapped," John explained. "I was young and frightened. I rushed into everything, our relationship, marriage, and having kids. I was truly unprepared to be a father of 3. "That's absurd, John," Mary yelled. "You were 27. You were not young. You were old enough for everything. Or should I remind you once again of what you did?" "What? What did I do? Have you forgotten about the bet you made with your friend Sam about me?" Mary seated herself. "You dated me and put on a facade of a happy marriage. You pretended to be thrilled about becoming a father. You lied to me and cheated on me with multiple mistresses, and when you felt it was enough, you became afraid and ran away, leaving me alone with our triplets." John found himself caught off guard. He had expected Allison to be angry with him for abandoning her and their children. However, her knowledge of the bet, his affairs, and his unwillingness to care for their babies left him shocked. "How do you know all this? About the bet and everything else? Who told you?" he asked. "Frank," Allison continued. "He revealed everything about you, and when you left us, he supported the children and me. He helped us survive. He did what you were supposed to do for us." "Wait, are you and Frank married?" John inquired. Allison's silence provided the answer. Though John wasn't surprised at this point, a different thought brewed in his mind. He realized this could be his golden opportunity to blackmail Frank for a hefty sum. Astonishingly, it was Frank, not Sam, with whom he had made the bet about Allison. "You kept it hidden from her, huh, Frank?" John thought to himself. "In that case, I believe I should pay you a surprise visit and teach you how to reveal the whole truth to her. Allison, you should consider yourself lucky that I left," he continued as he approached her. "Look at me. I have nothing, a lousy job and overwhelming debts. If I had known you were so wealthy, I would have come running to you for help. Are you drunk, John?" Mary fumed. "Well, what more can I expect from you? It doesn't surprise me. Allison, please help me. I need money," John pleaded. "Help you? Why would I do that? You abandoned the kids and me. You walked out on us without a second thought. Did you ever consider us? Then why should I? You can leave now. I never want to see you again, and please don't ever cross my path. Get out. Allison fumed and promptly kicked John out on the spot. John grumbled as he left the office and waited at a nearby cafe, planning to tell his ex-wife after her work. So, this is where she lives now, with her new husband. John smirked upon witnessing Allison and Frank embrace on their doorstep. He even caught a glimpse of his children, James, Anna, and Charles, playing in the yard. The following day, John returned to Mary's house after she had left for work and knocked on the door, startling Frank. John! Oh my God, what are you? Before Frank could finish speaking, John forcefully entered the house and made himself comfortable on the couch. John, how did you find us? My best friend, seducing my wife behind my back? Seriously impressive, John taunted, chuckling, as Frank grew increasingly uneasy. Fortunately, no one else was home. John, what do you want? Why have you come here? How could you do this to me, Frank? You knew I loved her. Why, I loved her. If you truly did, you wouldn't have run away, leaving her and the kids, Frank argued. Did you forget about the bet we made that night at the cafe? I fell in love with her at first sight, and so did you. We both desired her, didn't we? But only one of us succeeded, and that was me, John declared, surveying the opulence of Frank's living room. I admitted I was happy with her. Then she became pregnant, double joy, even though I wasn't fully prepared. Nonetheless, I supported her and loved her even more. But it became overwhelming for me when I saw 3 babies. I had only prepared myself for one, so I had to leave. I wasn't ready to raise triplets, Frank frowned as he spoke. People don't run away from their family or from their children. John disregarded Frank's concern and made an unusual demand. I don't want to dig any deeper. I want $5,000. $5,000, Frank was stunned. Yes, I'm just asking a little to keep my mouth shut. It will help me with some personal matters and paying off debts, and in return, you can save your marriage with Allison. Imagine the consequences if she finds out that you and I placed the bet on her, John explained. Frank never expected this situation to arise. After a moment of contemplation, he reluctantly agreed. But I need some time, he added. All right, I'll see you soon. Remember, Saturday is the deadline, John said, giving Frank's shoulder a reassuring pat before leaving. On Friday afternoon, Frank withdrew $5,000 from the joint account he shared with Mary, hoping she wouldn't notice. However, he failed to anticipate that she would receive a notification on her phone, a $5,000 debit. Why would Frank need such a large sum of money? Allison wondered, growing concerned. She immediately called Frank to inquire about it. Hey, don't worry, it's our money after all, she began. But why didn't you tell me you needed $5,000? Is everything okay? Did something unexpected happen? With no other choice, Frank had to reveal the truth to Mary. Frank confessed, John threatened to tell you that he had a bet with me, not Sam. I was terrified of losing you, Allison. I love you deeply, and I can't imagine my life without you and the children. To Frank's surprise, Mary burst into laughter. He expected her to explode with anger, but her reaction rendered him speechless. Frank, how absurd. Do you really think I would leave you over some drunken joke that came back to haunt us? She said with a smile. I despise John, not because of the bet or his foolish actions, but for abandoning me with the triplets. It's all in the past now. When I get home, we will talk more, better, Mary said, as she ended the call. Frank was still in shock. Mary didn't hate him for what he did. When Allison got home, Frank asked for forgiveness as he tried to explain again, but Mary assured him that she had forgiven him and wanted them to live happily. Let me prepare something for us to eat, Allison said as she went to the kitchen. She pondered. I wanted to feel sorry for that pitiful addict, but blackmail? That was crossing the line. Filled with determination and a sense of justice, Allison wasted no time in conveying her decision to Frank. She expressed her firm resolve to report John's actions to the appropriate authorities, believing that his malicious behavior should not go unpunished. Recognizing the gravity of the situation and understanding the importance of standing up against such misconduct, Frank wholeheartedly supported Allison's choice. Together, they gathered all the necessary evidence they could find, meticulously documenting John's threats, the extortion attempt, and his long-standing evasion of alimony payments. Armed with a substantial case against him, they presented their findings to the local law enforcement agency, ensuring that justice would be served. The authorities, impressed by the thoroughness of their investigation and the compelling evidence presented, wasted no time in launching an official inquiry into John's actions. It didn't take long for the truth to unravel, exposing John's despicable deeds to the scrutiny of the legal system. After a swift but thorough investigation, the law enforcement agencies gathered an airtight case against John. The weight of his transgressions bore heavily upon him as he faced the consequences of his actions. He was swiftly arrested, apprehended for blackmailing Frank and eluding his alimony obligations for over a decade. News of John's arrest sent shockwaves through their community as people learned of the extent of his deceit and the pain he had caused Allison and her family. The authorities, determined to ensure justice prevailed, pursued the legal proceedings with utmost seriousness. John's trial was a significant event that garnered widespread attention. The evidence presented during the proceedings painted a damning picture of his character and actions. Witness testimonies further solidified the case against him, revealing the depth of his manipulation and disregard for the well-being of others. In the courtroom, John's facade of arrogance crumbled as the weight of his crimes bore down upon him. The judge, recognizing the severity of his offenses, handed down a just and substantial sentence, holding him accountable for his actions. The verdict served as a powerful message, illustrating that attempts to exploit and blackmail others would not go unpunished. With John behind bars, Allison and Frank felt a renewed sense of security and closure. Their courageous decision to seek justice had not only protected their own family but potentially spared others from falling victim to John's malicious schemes. They hoped that John's arrest would serve as a deterrent to others, preventing similar acts of blackmail and ensuring the safety and well-being of innocent individuals. As for Allison and Frank, they found solace in knowing that their love and resilience had prevailed. Their bond grew stronger through the shared experience, reinforcing their commitment to each other and their determination to overcome any future challenges that came their way.